Investigators have been looking into this recall for over 6 months now, checking the validity of hundreds of signatures that were turned in to the elections office. The Yuma County superintendent confirming the push to recall Luis Marquez, a longtime board member for the Gadsden Elementary School District, was started by Mark Concha, who has kids in San Luis and is running for a seat on the board this November. His team turned in 895 signatures to recall Marquez. The county recorder was only able to verify 135, and the recall failed. Now it's turned into a criminal investigation. Deputies want to know why 85% of those signatures were rejected. Some were duplicates. Detectives have been making house calls to try and see if people really signed their names to the petition or if someone forged them.
They found out that they rejected 760 of the signatures. Some of them weren't registered. Some of them didn't live there. There were many reasons why those signatures were rejected.
We reached out to Mark Concha to find out why he started the recall. He didn't want to talk. Yuma County deputies are encouraging anyone who can help with this investigation to call in their hotline 78-CRIME. You can remain anonymous. In Yuma, Alexandra Rangel, Arizona's Family.